You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Brandy Williams, here to talk about the astrology of the week. How are you? How was your weekend? How is your heart space? How have you been doing in the Cancer parts of life where we are processing big emotions? How's that going for you? And you know how to reach me to tell me how you're doing. So I want to know for real. I want to know how y'all doing. Lay it on my lap. So, lots of energy changes taking place this week, but not until Friday. And everything's going to be a little breezy, and then bam, Friday, 4th of July, the fireworks are going to show up in the astrological climates. But there's still a few things that we are going to discuss and look out for throughout the week because, energy is always in motion in some type of way. We just came off of a weekend where we had that Mercury in Leo and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius opposition, and that could have been interesting for us. So, it could have just been us feeling like, I'm tired, but I got so much to do, but I'm just not. Or we could have seen, like, the collective mad at somebody in the media, which is like, yeah, duh. But also there could have been personally, like, just, I don't know, like this old triggers coming up, like some me versus them lone wolf type of energy, triggering memories and past resentments, which is pretty spot on because we have this big Jupiter in Cancer energy. Not to mention, we just came off of that new moon in Cancer where we are planting new seeds. But first, we got to dig up some old roots, right? Tend our soil good. But yeah, feelings of being misunderstood by the tribe could be coming up. Feelings of um people who used to thrive off you dimming your light could be coming up, and people who used to like try to little bro you, or which just means like, trying to oppress you or strong arm you in a way, and asking you to be small when you had this big light. And now the vibes is like, fuck that, I'm gonna shine like a trillion watts, like Jay-Z said. So yeah, I can see that coming up for us. Like, you know what, y'all been some haters, but not to stay there. We healing so we don't become a hater, right? So we are in some of that energy. And then today, that Mercury in Leo is entering his shadow period. And that is just where, when Mercury gets through his retrograde, this is where he's going to end up at. So we call it a shadow period. So that's happening between 4 degrees and 15 degrees of Leo. But in a shadow period, we still encounter miscommunications, and in Leo it is ego flares, and things that kind of got you a little messed up. Or it could be courage stuff. We could feel like we have a lack of courage or confidence about something. And of course, what will be Mercury retrograde without tech issues? So I hope that this is not sounding all glitchy and grainy, but if it is, still listen, because the tech be tech in the Mercury retrogrades and the shadow. We don't want to forget about the shadow periods that tend to happen. And then I don't really talk about the moon, but I thought this was interesting to see that, first off, we are coming into kind of like a first quarter moon. So that's kind of like when the moon and the sun kind of have a square that's going to happen this week, which brings us to some type of tension. So there's a tense feeling in the air this week for some reason. It's kind of low key though. But also we have Mars that's in Virgo doing his Zen thing, but then the moon's there. So it's kind of irritating. Virgo energy is already the type of energy that wants to have a step-by-step process, that wants to get things done, and that wants to look at the logistics and the details. But when the moon's there, there's a like an emotional quality to that. There's a need to get something done and to declutter, but there's an air of, I don't know, with Mars and the moon. There's a little passive aggressive. There's a little tension, right? And so we could just feel a little irritated, like little things irritating us. We could feel like something is just not working out. We could feel like some of the details in something just feels a little stuck, or I don't know. It's just something kind of sticking out there. The shadow part of that is self-criticism and the tendency to over perfect. So we could just be frustrated and just like summer cleaning and throwing all the things out. And that Mars energy is really good for decluttering and organizing. But what could happen with this emotional component being the moon here with Mars today is There is something on the tip of the tongue that is just about to come out. Not to mention, we had these energies yesterday, Mercury in Leo in its shadow. That's already a sharp tongue. So something might be right at the surface that's wanting to come out. We're a little irritated. Maybe we feel some type of way. Maybe we feel like somebody feels some type of way about us. It's just something that's slithering underneath the surface. And if we are irritated with ourselves enough and something's not working out enough in our need for things to go perfect or whatever, we could find ourselves trying to edit someone else in the midst of editing our own selves. And I would encourage us not to do that. Ego energies are running high, and everybody's got something going on. Everybody's on an individual path or three right now. There's multiple parts of life that are needing our attention. And so I would caution to avoid putting your 2 cents into someone else's suggestion cup, especially for sure if they didn't ask you for it. If someone hasn't asked you for your feedback or your unsolicited advice or your opinion, may we just keep our mouth change in our pocket this week? Because some unsolicited advice could turn into a real misunderstanding. We want to instead channel that external edit and bring that back in house because we all have a spiritual call to action right now. And there, like I said, there's so many areas in our lives that can use our step by step attention. And that's a good thing for us to focus on. Focus on our own home organization, our own health, our own relationships, our own daily routines. Are you getting your 60 ounces of water? Okay. And focus on something for yourself without the crazy perfectionism and criticism that can show up with that shadow energy of Virgo, which is probably the reason why you might want to dip into somebody else's situation in the first place, because you're tired of punching on yourself. And so you need a new target. So yeah, we just want to stay in our own boats this week. And if somebody asks you for your advice, listen, you have the right to remain honest and tactful. Tactful, okay? I think some of us need to Google what tact mean, because sometimes it's not what you say, it's your tone, and you trying to disguise that when I'm just keeping it real, but you rude. So I ain't trying to get in y'all business, and this is just the messages from the cosmos. I'm not telling you what to do. So if they do get mad and they ask you for it, hey, that's on them. That's probably something they need to work on. And if you're the one getting mad after you've asked somebody for their advice, you need to, maybe just go ahead and put that on your get my shit together list. So yeah. All with the love though, because y'all know I love you. But I'm just saying, I'm just a messenger. All right. Now we're jumping all the way down Friday. Y'all thought this was gonna be a short podcast, but there's a lot to say about July 4th. Like, that's interesting that a lot of stuff is popping off and some of America's Independence Day. July 4th at 8:45 a.m. Venus conjunct Uranus in the sign of Taurus at 29 degrees and 52 minutes at the last and final degree, almost the last and final minute of Taurus. So, and Venus, they got their bags packed. They are about to take flight over to Gemini. But before they go, they got something they want to drop into your spirit, into your body, right? For a quick second. And so there could be these lightning strike realizations and revelations happening this week about some type of Venusian topic. And what is that, pray tell? That is relationships and friendships and women and sisters and cousins, our relationships with women, our money, our values, and our price that we put on our services, and our passion, our aesthetic, our hair, maybe something that we're buying, purchase, an investment, collaboration. Those are all Venusian type things. So on the surface, this could be something good. Like, this could be a financial gain that you didn't even expect. Maybe you overpaid for something and you are receiving, a refund check or something like that. But this also could be a financial loss or unexpected expense, but I feel like because it's Venus and Taurus, it tips to me on the more positive side. And this can also be irritations with people, irritations with the women in our lives, irritations in a relationship, just like a sudden irritation about something. On a deeper level, Uranus and Venus are at this final exam degree. That 29th degree is the degree, the testing degree right before you graduate and make it to the other side. And so I feel like Venus is testing us and asking us to review what was taking place over the past 7 years while Uranus has been in Taurus, and look and take notice of all the ways that we are different now, the things that we feel liberated from, and this could be liberated from relationships that felt confining and stagnant, the types of people we attracted, the people that we used to hang out with or in business with, the people that we worked with. How has our self-value and self-worth changed over the past 7 years? Are we doing something that we feel passionate about and aligned with? Are we asking for different prices that we would dare not ask for? What shit did you used to take that you no longer tolerate? How has your relationships to money evolved? Venus in Taurus asks us to take stock, and the Uranus in Taurus energy is sending some type of clear signal in the body about whether or not something feels aligned to our evolved self worth. And we will know whether or not something is aligned based on how that sensation feels to us. If we feel this tightening, tense sensation, something that feels a little deflating, we want to really pay attention to that. If we feel this sense of expansion and safety and more creativity, and like our body just wants to exhale, like we waiting to exhale, girl, we want to pay attention to that. Our body is always giving us clues and communication on what feels good and what is a red flag, but the mind is very clever at bypassing. Don't bypass. Don't shortchange yourself. Don't talk yourself out of abundance by holding on to something that's not meant to be with you. So you just want to pay attention to what the body's trying to tell you with this energy. Then later on that morning, Venus is going to leave town. She's leaving her domicile in Taurus, and she's going to enter into Gemini, where she becomes super lighthearted and friendly. She has her hair in a little pixie cut now. She's playful, she's curious. And this is going to bring a lightness to our relationships and our money and our self worth. Venus in Gemini is very flirty and social. So to me, she's giving Alice from Twilight. She got the pixie cut, she's skipping around. Bella, are you riding with us? Yeah, girl, I'm riding with you. And if y'all don't know Twilight, then I don't know. Think of Tinkerbell or somebody, just somebody, somebody who's cute and flirty and friendly and stuff like that. So she's playful, and I really like this for us. Let's play with the energy. This is good for manifesting, to get light, to ask the universe, how good can it get? Show me. This is where we are learning and we're open and we're curious and we're very youthful. So we have that childlike curiosity where we are not attached to our own thoughts and beliefs and our own fear, but we're open, connecting with people. We are outside, we're playing. So yeah, I love that for us. Later on that evening, I told y'all it was fireworks on July 4th, right? Neptune is going to turn retrograde, and this is going to happen at about 5:30 p.m. at 2 degrees and 10 minutes of Aries. And so this is not an immediate energy or a situation, but if you're like a super sensitive soul, you probably may already feel some things happening, because there's always little astrology attached to a very big one like a Neptune retrograde. But over the next month or so, we're going to be confronted with something that is not what it appears to be. And this is something that's going to be in our Aries parts of life, because Neptune is in Aries and that's where Neptune is going to retrograde. There is going to be some sort of course correct in that Aries parts of life. There's going to be something that pertains to whatever new thing began for us this year. There's going to be some type of clarification or clarity around what something really is. And so we're going to ask ourselves, have we been seeing something with rose colored glasses? And if we have, that's going to be dissolved and dissolving for us over the next few months. So yeah, something's going to be real clear. And this is where we want to already start to ask ourselves, you know, about any new experience or plans or projects or, something that we've initiated this year. Have I been glossing over something? Have I been over romanticizing something? Have I been deceiving myself about, what this is really going to require of me in a certain type of way? Whatever, wherever you have that 2 degrees to 0 degrees of Aries, whatever planets or points are touching that part of your life. And if you're like, girl, how am I supposed to know? That's when you call me. We're gonna talk about it, okay? But if you already know about this astrology game, then you really could look at that and say, "Oh man, that's right over my moon," or whatever. And you just have to know that's going to be affecting you in a real way, and not in a like, "Oh my God, scary." It could be good, but there's just going to be a reworking and a review about something. And then when Saturn goes retrograde in the sign of Aries and Neptune at that point, a couple of weeks later, will re enter the sign of Pisces, all happening in October. We're going to gain some kind of spiritual maturity about something. We're going to gain some wisdom about the thing that we could have overlooked, about something that we didn't see clearly. And then there will be a reassessment or removal of something that is actually not aligned and shouldn't be a part of the process. So whatever that is, we just let it unfold, and we are in a willing to release and trust the process situation, because we got the nodes and all the things, and we're slow walking this. So no need to panic and try to figure out what it is now. Just notice how the astrology is speaking to you. You don't have to go look for it. It's going to come and pop you right in the face in your dreams and in your body, okay? And so then later on, as soon as Venus entered into the sign of Gemini, she makes a sextile to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And this is really good. This is good vibes. This is actually not even later on. This is going to take place over Saturday and Sunday. So these are good relationship vibes. Venus is friendly. So this is good check ins, having funny and fun conversation, a good day to be with your friends. This is get together energy, a healthy sense of duty and obligation. So this could be two individuals kind of checking in with each other like, hey, you still good? I'm still good. Is it something that you need from me? Is it something that I can do more of? A love language check in, teamwork, coming together creatively, little art date, picnic in the park, just something creative and light and fun. Also, we could be making new friends with more mature and compassionate people who are just very lighthearted. So I love that. I love that for us. Now, that is all I have for this week, but I do want to briefly talk about what is happening Monday, July 7th at 3:47 in the morning, because by the time I talk to you, this energy is already going to be in the ethers, and it already actually is. But when Uranus enters into the sign of Gemini, things happen fast. So this is a big deal. Uranus is going into the sign of Gemini. It has been in Taurus for the past 7 years. And over the past 7 years, it has been destabilizing things in the sign of Taurus and Taurus like things. So money, jobs, skills, resources, things that we were building, our bodies, the ability to speak on something, our vocal cords, throat chakra, stuff like that. Being too complacent, being rooted and not wanting to change, even when something didn't align with our self worth or our values, were all being skirted from under our feet and, taken away in a certain way so that we could get up and make a different move. And that's what Uranus does. It is the great awakener and the freedom rider. So when I think of Uranus, I think of Harriet Tubman, Moses from the Bible, Prometheus in Greek mythology archetype, that person who busts down barriers and break down doors, and the person who steals fire from the gods to give to the humans and to blaze us on a new path and a trail where society or an authority figure said that the limit stopped there. Uranus is busting us past the perceivable limits of our human experience and bringing us into something more spiritual and future oriented. And that's that Uranus energy. But that breakdown and that busting through the wall hurts. And it could be messy and painful and chaotic, but it also could be exhilarating and exciting. It's like, I thought the glass ceiling was here. And then Uranus is like, bang, bang, bang. I'm busting the glass ceiling. So now, Uranus is about to shoot through the glass in the Gemini part of life and destabilize that. So, Uranus has its own significations of technology and social media and aliens and AI and all the futuristic stuff, electricity. It is in the business of toppling the old structures and taking down the old powers that be. And then Gemini is the sign of also like media and marketing and commerce, how we do business and transportation. Gemini is assigned to Mercury, and Mercury is a businessman. So this is entrepreneurship happening for a lot of people. Differences and disruptions in learning organizations and structures. This has a lot to do with the youth and commerce and gender fluidity. So there can be some chaotic, expressive, magical things about to take place in the Gemini parts of our lives over the next 7 years. There's definitely going to be something, so some of the things we can expect is revolutions and things that have to do with gender rights and rights for gender fluidity and things like that, technological breakthroughs and crazy, shocking advancements in transportation and artificial intelligence being extremely sentient and human, like digital commerce taking over and the death of the dollar and the metal coins and stuff like that, some type of expressive situation that involves the youth. Maybe the youth are coming to bust down these old structures in a way and blaze new trails, and we see a lot of that already happening. And also, every time Uranus has been in Gemini in the past, there was a war that took place. I really don't like to use the wars, stuff, but I got to keep it real. I want y'all to be like, we're like going, skipping down the rainbow and it's gonna be cool. Yeah, this is war energy, even with Neptune and Aries. Every time Uranus has been in Gemini, there was a war. So the last centuries that Uranus was in Gemini, we had the American Revolutionary War, the American Civil War, World War II. I don't actually have the dates. So yeah, there's a big war theme around Uranus and Gemini, but none of us are sure how that is going to play out because history doesn't actually repeat itself, but it does rhyme. It's what the little new, fun term to say is. So we don't fully know how things will play out because we have different astrological weather with this Uranus in Gemini that we've never encountered before. In 2026, there's going to be some things that are not even recorded in astrological history. So that is big question mark energy. What is to come? And the world is changing. It's very technologically advanced. So who knows what types of wars we're actually talking about, but there's already wars right now happening. So, and I feel like there's always been wars, but this is me really talking about the United States timeline and things that are happening because the United States is having an important Uranus return. So that's why I'm talking about this. It's an important thing happening in the States with this transit. We don't want to be afraid, though there's going to be scary things that are going to be coming through our intellectual, but the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to learn how to stay grounded and in connection with each other. Learn how to meditate. If you don't know how already, really take that seriously. That inner still time needs to be incorporated into your lives as a daily practice. Learn what your nervous system needs to come back to baseline and to be in a state of sovereignty so that you can hear your own intuition and so that you can pour from the overflow, start connecting with people who are like-minded and who feel safe versus isolating and being estranged from people. This is a time that you really want to be in community and be connected to people because people are going to need people, right? And this unprecedented, unknown, type of lifestyle that we are entering, we want to have connections, get to know your neighbors, get to know people that, if you need help and you have resources and they have resources and y'all can exchange. This is a really good time to heal so we can help each other out, okay? And partner with the mind. Partner with the mind. Don't let the mind be the enemy. Don't let the mind take control. Partner with the mind. Train the mind so that the mind can work with you instead of taking you on a crazy paranoid joyride, listening to everybody else, getting your news from all the other places, but your body and your intuition has its own direct source of what to do. So we want to partner with that so that we could stay in our own power, because that Uranus and Gemini energy brings a lot of big mental energy, a lot of thoughts, a lot of communication, a lot of stories, and that is going to bring a huge amount of anxiety, even to people who don't normally even experience anxiety. So it's time to tap in and to take that really serious and take your stillness very seriously. That's it for now. I mean, Uranus and Gemini gonna be here for a minute, so we got a little time to break that down. And then it's gonna also retrograde back into Taurus, and then it'll be in Gemini for 7 years. So we got time to break it down. And that is all I have for this week. May I encourage you to mind the business that pays you this week, all the time. Just mind your business, unless they ask you for it. Whatever. Stay in your own boat, because we have a lot to discover in our own lives, and we're trying to partner with our own intuition. So we got a lot to do. Be a safe space for yourself so that you can be a safe space to somebody else and they want to help you out in the midst of some shit going down. Don't be a crazy, okay? That's all. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend, and everyone stay safe and call a Uber if you have a drink. That's just my little 2 cents. you know. Okay, then. Well, I'll speak to you soon. Bye. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.